Hi guys, it's Mr. Goodrow, Assistant Principal here at Ridgeview. I'm here to read Chapter 13, Broken Feathers. Borden biked out of the riverside to find Pop and Barty. Leon had taken the truck today, and it was parked some distance from the river. He was not in sight, but Barty was. He was sitting upright on the steering wheel of the pickup, half asleep, half awake. "Come on," Borden said to the owlet. "I'll give you a ride out to Pop." Borden stuck out his arm, and Barty walked to his shoulder. Borden pushed down on the pedals and wheeled off. He had not gone far before the owlet hopped onto the handlebars. He opened his wings and bent his body into the wind. The feathers on his lids lowered to protect his eyes. "Hey," Borden said, "you like this, don't you?" He laughed and swung back onto the road. He circled around and around, and the faster he went, the more serene the owlet became. He seemed, Borden thought, to be soaring over his great forest of ancient trees, looking for the arbutus garden where Borden had found him. "I'm going to take you to your home as soon as you can fly, little Barty," he promised. "You must miss the big trees." Leon came down the riverbank with a small fish for Barty. It wiggled wildly. Barty leaped onto his wings and flapped them. He never reached the fish. He was flying. He pulled down and up and climbed higher. Above the blue-green waters of the Trinity, he cricked one wing, turned, and soared back. "He can fly!" shouted Borden. "He can fly!" Leon cried out. As he drifted silently toward them, a gust of wind came up the valley and struck him. He lost control and plummeted downward, flapping backwards to break his descent. He crash-landed on the grass. Leon reached him first. "Borden," he called out, "come here! Barty has broken his tail." Borden put down his bike and ran to Leon. All but two of Barty's tail feathers had broken off about an inch below his body. "They broke along the lines of the hunger streaks," said Borden, "just like Sally said they would. Now what do we do?" "Maybe he can fly without a tail," said Leon. "You hold him on your fist. I'll call to him like I'll do in court." Borden held Barty high. Leon gave a hoot. Barty lowered his body and spread his wings. He jumped into the air, flapped his wings, and crashed to the ground. "He can't steer without his tail," said Borden. "Well, I guess we don't need Jess's," Leon said. "He's not going anywhere." Leon leaned down, and Barty stepped up onto his hand. "And I'm glad of that. Sally was going to ask that man how to make them." "This is terrible, Pop," said Borden. "How can I let him go if he can't fly?" "Who said you were going to let him go?" "I did, Pop. I found him. I want to take him back to the big trees." He looked at Leon. "That's the only thing we can do. Because you aren't going to wring his neck. You just couldn't." "We'll see about that," said Leon, letting Barty climb onto his shoulder. He took him back to the truck. "Couldn't wring his neck." Said Leon. Borden watched Leon drive off. When he was out of sight, he picked up his bike and headed for the high school. It was Tuesday afternoon, and the ecology club was meeting. He sat on the steps outside the laboratory door and waited for Sally. He did not go into the classroom. He certainly would not be caught dead in that room with that man. Let Sally betray Pop, but not him. When Sally appeared, Borden called to her. "What are you doing here?" she asked in surprise. "I need to talk to you." "About what?" "Barty's feathers broke off at the hunger streak line. He can't fly." "New feathers will grow in." "When?" "Next year." "Next year," he said, as Paul James came through the door with several students. "We can't wait that long. After the hearing, Pop's going to wring his neck." He glanced at the teacher and back at Sally. "Didn't you tell me the falconeers know how to mend broken feathers?" "If they do," Sally said, "Mr. James would know. He's a falconer. Ask him." Borden hesitated and thought of Pop. "You know him," he said. "You ask him." He backed away, picked up his bike, and walked it down the pavement, glancing back at Sally now and then. She was talking to the teacher, and from the looks of his face, Borden knew she was asking the right questions. He took the trail through the town's tourist attractions, a park of huge ancient trees. He stopped at the bridge over the stream. The water was crystal clear. Among the rocks, green and pink lights played off the scales of darting fish. He looked at the uncut forest and thought about Jimmy's Pop. Sally was late coming home. Borden heard her footsteps on the walk and hurried to meet her. "What did he say?" he asked, following her into the kitchen. Leon and Barty were in the shower. He said when falcons break feathers, the falconeers imp or graft feathers on them. That means they push good feathers into the quills of the broken ones and fasten them with glue and thread. From her school backpack, she took out 12 brick-red feathers. "Tail feathers," she said. "Where did you get them?" "That man," she said sarcastically, "found a red-tailed hawk that had been shot. He had it in the lab freezer and gave me the tail feathers. They were about the same size as barred owls. We'll imp them on. He told me how." "Who are you talking about?" Leon asked, as he walked into the kitchen with Barty and one hand on Sally's hairdryer in the other. "A falconer," said Borden. "He told Sally how to fix broken feathers on a bird." "Will it hurt him?" "No," said Sally. "Birds have no feelings in their feathers, like our hair and fingernails." "Well," said Leon, "let's do it." "I thought you were going to wring his neck," Sally could not help but saying. "Who said I was going to wring his neck?" Leon snapped. Then he harumphed and plugged in the hairdryer.